Introducing the new Volvo XC90 with 7-seat versatility, Google built-in, and advanced safety features for all your precious cargo. The new Volvo XC90, designed for life. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
This summer, try the new Strato Frappuccino blended beverage at Starbucks. It's the classic blended iced coffee you know and love, now topped with a creamy layer of handcrafted brown sugar cold foam. Available for a limited time. Your Strato Frappuccino is ready at Starbucks.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode will be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus, we will seek to uncover it all.
So join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
To the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You also know me as She Cup, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hey, I'm Austin or Teacup.
And I hear we have a very topical topic today.
Why is it? What? Yes, it is a topical topic.
We're talking about the French Revolution and Napoleon Bonaparte, and I do find that a little topical, just like given what's been going on in American culture with the murder of Brian Thompson.
Oh my gosh, yes. But if you don't know what we're talking about, Google.
I think people know.
I think people will know. But if you don't, I mean, if you're not American, you might not know.
Fair.
You can Google that. So today we are talking about Napoleon Bonaparte. And that is the Napoleon, the one that you think of, the one that you get for Napoleon Complex and other things like that.
You know, Napoleon Complex is the short man syndrome, right?
Correct.
He wasn't actually that short for his time.
No, he was not.
Like, he was shorter than average, I think, but not by much.
Yeah, and I think that Napoleon Complex is very much described as like an overcompensation. Like you are overly aggressive because you're short and you're making up that. Napoleon didn't really have a lot to like overcompensate for. I mean, I don't know how big he was, if we know what we're saying, but I have murdered my wife and she's dead with the delivery of that line. We're moving on. But like, he was vastly intelligent. Like, he he didn't really have anything to like make him seem feared or make him seem that way.
I mean, but like, didn't he also take unnecessary risks? Like he invaded Russia in winter.
Yes, but I think that's more due to arrogance than it is for him like trying to prove himself.
Is arrogance not trying to prove yourself?
But he's arrogant because he actually
believes
he
it.
actually believes it versus
All right.
like you're feigning arrogance because you're not.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it.
So he's a French military officer, a statesman who rose to prominence during the French Revolution, and led a series of successful campaigns across Europe during the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars. So this is 1796 to 1815. So these encompass, it's a big like world event. Like, so England goes to war with France, and then the United States doesn't back England, and so England goes to war with the United States in what's known as the War of 1812. France's revolution is not as organized as our revolution. It's not really like we fight a war, like a strategic, like planned out war.
The French people are pissed off is really what it amounts to.
France has a revolt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's interesting because, you know, it's often said that the French Revolution is like the next revolution after America's, right? That's technically not true because the Haitian Revolution happens first. But it is interesting to me because I looked up the time periods, and the Haitian Revolution happens in 1791 and this happens in 1796. So there's 5 years between this. And so it's very interesting to me. And as we know, only a couple decades earlier is the American Revolution. It's interesting to me in this time period that there is so much upheaval and similar upheaval across completely different countries. And I mean, I think that's significant. And I also think we're seeing similar things today.
I agree. I mean, the turns of centuries have always been
bad.
Like bad. They've been just a lot of things happening, a lot of revolutions, a lot of changes, a lot of new waves of stuff coming on. And that's just, is it a coincidence? Who knows? Is it just that eventually people get, you know, dissatisfied with their current situation and try to make it better and can't? Like,
yeah, I mean, I also think that there is something to be said that history is cyclical. I mean, I do this all the time. I look at events of the 1920s and the amount that is very similar to 2024, it's frightening.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so France's revolution, as we know, does not go well for the everyday people or the nobility. And part of it is the French Revolution is really an example of why you cannot copy and paste what happened in America into other cultural contexts, because the Americas had not really had feudalism ever. Like when they were established, like you could work, you could do what you want. You weren't really limited by your religion or your class. Like you were limited by your race, unfortunately, and by how much money you actually had and how much money you could spend.
And I mean, I think your education, like if you had an education, if you have a trade, those kinds of things too.
But France is not that way. They have a very strong noble class system. They're still, you know, rocking feudalism, and they start this revolution, and, you know, they get the quote unquote serfs or the lower class and the lower middle class on board. And then they realize, oh crap, the security I once had under feudalism is not there. And the people who are leading this revolution have not come up with a plan to give me that security back.
Right.
And so they get pissed. And then they get pissed at nobles. And then they start cutting off nobles' heads. And then the Reign of Terror. All of which is a time period that you can play in Assassin's Creed Unity, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so he's French consul, which is like the head person of what is the French Republic. And he's also then becomes emperor of France. Ironically, I found this so funny. He actually is deposed as emperor and then comes back to be emperor in 1815, just for a brief war before he has to finally leave.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
So all in all, like, I can talk about what Napoleon does. Like, he, leads a bunch of wars. The famous thing of, like, never lead a land invasion of Russia during the winter. Like, he's the first one to do it. Like,
that's why the saying exists.
Right. And then later in World War II, the Third Reich, Germany, they do it again, and it
fails again.
It fails again because you cannot survive the Russian winter, and the Russians can. I can talk about that, but I don't want to. I'm going to talk about who he was as a person and what we know, which historians are ironically divided. I am surprised by that they actually have vastly differing opinions on who Napoleon was. So we all know things that we agree. He was ambitious. He was an ambitious person. Historians disagree on whether that ambition was mostly for himself or for the glory of France. So if, like, he was ambitious on behalf of France or he was ambitious for himself. I am going to give the classic I went to seminary answer and say it's both. He is ambitious for himself, but he is also ambitious for the glory of France.
I think that when it comes to people who have these massive positions of power, typically the glory of their country or the glory of whatever it is they're doing is wrapped up in themselves and the things that they are doing. So I definitely feel like these two things can't be separated.
I very much agree with that. Like, when you're president of the United States, America's wins are your personal wins. And the public views that.
And your personal losses and personal wins are also reflect on the country. I mean, look at Joe Biden and all of this stuff with his son.
Mm-hmm.
If that wasn't true, we wouldn't give two craps about his son.
Right. But he's in this position of power, so these are linked. So I think trying to say he was one or the other, like you said, is really just he was both. He was highly intelligent, excellent memory. He was actually very, very organized, which he could work efficiently for long hours. In battle, he would rapidly dictate a series of complex commands to his subordinates, keeping in mind where his major units were expected to be at each future point. So he is thinking very, very quickly and seeing things as they happen. Some historians say that Napoleon only saw other people as instruments and was cut off from feelings of admiration, sympathy, or pity. However, other historians point out the fact that he seemed to actually love his first wife, Josephine. And he would sometimes show compassion for enemies. And it wouldn't just be like destroy your enemies. I think for me, where I would land on Napoleon, and I don't know, I don't know a lot, so maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he would show compassion to his enemy if he felt that enemy could still be useful to him.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. My opinion is he seems to be a very strategic thinker. And so I feel like if he thinks that this person can be used strategically, he would spare them.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to, like, there's a lot of really, really terrible men in history who did actually love their wives, and it's like their only quasi-redeeming quality. So I'm going to let Napoleon have that one.
He can have the one thing.
Yes, he can love his wife. We'll keep that. Historians are also divided on how ruthless Napoleon was. Specifically in regard to when his power was threatened. Or if he was indulgent in some of these cases. Some would argue that he's indulgent in some cases. Those arguing for a ruthless personality point to a lot of violent suppression of revolts in France, conquered territories, his execution of Duke Enghien and the plotters against his rule, his massacre of Turkish prisoners of war in Syria in 1799. All of these point to a man who is ruthless. Others point that other disloyal subordinates he has mild treatment of. And I think this goes back to, like, you could see this and look at it and say, hey, this is like conflicting things. But when you take a step back and look at the whole person, you realize he's thinking strategically. He is putting down revolts that he feels like he needs to show a force in or whatever. But when people who he thinks he can still use, who he can still benefit from, they get a mild less treatment. It's all strategic about how he wants to be.
Yeah, and I see that. I definitely see that. And I also think that, like, you can't really, unless you're going to be a dictator, you can't really just be ruthless with every single person. Like, you just can't, unless that's your goal. So, and I don't necessarily think that is his goal here. And so I definitely see and understand why he would treat people differently and treat different people differently. And because, like, there are also levels of mistakes, right? Like, somebody who brings you the wrong cup of coffee is not needing to be treated with as much ruthlessness as somebody who's made a huge mistake in the war. Like, those are there's levels here.
Cruelty and ruling is something that needs to be doled out only for extreme cases if you're going to do it at all. And I think that's a lot of rulers behave that way, and I think Napoleon isn't an exception. I think Napoleon gets a bad rap across the board. I'm not saying that he was a good guy or anything, but he gets a bad rap because he gets ambitious and he tries to conquer the rest of Europe. But starting out, France is not in a good place. It is chaos. It is destruction. Eventually, he becomes the only sane person with any leadership power left in France, especially during Robespierre's reign of terror. And I think when he starts out, and as we've talked about, power corrupts, when he starts out, he is just trying to bring order to chaos.
Right. Yes, completely agree. And like I said, I'm not an expert in this topic at all, but I very much feel like at the beginning, France desperately needs somebody who's going to come in there and organize things. And from everything you've said, that he is super organized and super strategic thinker, like, that's exactly who France needed at that moment in time. Now, things devolve over the course of his reign, but at the beginning, they desperately needed that strong ruler to come in and basically just whip things into shape.
Right. And, most historians see Napoleon as pragmatic and a realist, at least in the early years of his rule. He was not driven by ideology, and he promoted capable men, regardless of their political or social background, as long as they were loyal to him. Which, I think there's two important words in there. One is capable and one is loyal.
Yeah.
And you have to be both.
Yes. Yes. Whereas, like, some leaders throughout history and current leaders as well, they only promote people who are loyal. And, that's never the best. That's never the best mode of operation. But I agree with you. Like, Napoleon is at least promoting people who can do the job.
Right. And I think that Machiavelli has a famous quote in The Prince that's like, it is good to be feared and loved. But if you had to pick one, I would rather be loved than feared. Or maybe it's the other way around. I can't remember. Someone correct me. Anyway, I think Napoleon, with this, it's a thing. You need people who are both capable and loyal, but at the end of the day, capable is better than loyal.
Yes. I would rather be loved and feared.
Yeah, but if you had to pick one.
Both.
You can't have both. You want people to be afraid of how much they love you?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, Michael Scott. Anyway, here's where we get into some fun stuff. He was superstitious, believe it or not. He believed in omens, numerology, fate, and lucky stars. Always asked his general if he was lucky. As he gets victories at Austerlitz and Jena in 1805 to 1806, he basically gets this destiny complex, which I think is really interesting given the lore of Assassin's Creed. So I'm going to read this quote, and then we'll go to our mid-break. I am the race that founds empires. Once he boasted, deeming himself as heir to the ancient Romans.
I mean, is it that, or is it that he just has Isu DNA?
Exactly. Like, these are the questions that I have. We'll get into that after we talk a little bit about like the reforms that he does of France, because I think they're really interesting.
All right, well then let's go to the mid-break.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab, LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Love espresso, drip coffee, and cold brew? With the Ninja Luxe Cafe, if you can crave it, you can brew it. Espresso, balanced. Drip coffee, rich. Cold brew in a flash. With Barista Assist technology, you brew with no stress and no guesswork and make perfect silky microfoam hands-free from dairy or plant-based milks. Shop the Ninja Luxe Cafe at ninjakitchen.com.
You set the table, put on a playlist, even made the lasagna from scratch. And now you're wearing it. OxyClean Max Force Spray tackles tough, set-in stains the first time. Adulting is hard. Fighting stains shouldn't be. OxyClean Max Force. It's not clean unless it's OxyClean.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot a flying demon!
Quite a carriage you got there. Where did you buy it, if you don't mind me asking?
Ask all you want, Freddy. You'll never get an answer.
Damn it all. Was it my eyebrows?
Yes, and your face, voice, and body.
What have you done? We used them. They were not ready for firing. You could have gotten us all killed. Let me see. His breath is more fatal than our cannons. Only when you two fools are shooting them. There, try it.
All right, welcome to the middle of the show. This is where we talk about all the things that have to do with the lore cast of Assassin's Creed and not the lore. So the first thing that I have to shout out is our Patreon. Our December patron chat is coming up. Actually, it will be recorded as of the posting of this episode. So if you are listening this morning and you want to hop on and join us, you can still sign up. But, you know, we always thank all of our patrons because they're truly the ones that help us keep making this show. And we are going to have some really amazing upgrades to our merch in 2025. So if you have been thinking about it, considering it, now is the time to join. So you make sure you get all of those rewards. And the next best way to support us, if you can't support us financially, is to leave us a rating or a review. I don't believe we have any to read today. So if you leave us a rating or review wherever you can, we'll read it out on the next episode. And then the last thing I have to talk about on this mid-break is our Discord server. We always say that it's the best place on the internet, and I think that it is. It's a great place to hang out and talk about, you know, any video games that you're playing. I know Shadows hasn't come out yet, but whatever games you're playing, if you want to talk about it with like-minded people, definitely hop into the Discord server. And with that, Austin, I think we're ready to get back into it.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtuo Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your Virtuo Pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
The summer sun hums, and all you crave is something cold and crisp. So you pour it. An icy cocktail made with Tequila Don Julio. Crafted with 100% Blue Weber agave, born under the Mexican sun. And made to be shared when the day runs long and the light gets golden. Shop now at donjulio.com. Please drink responsibly. Don Julio Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Diageo Americas, New York, New York.
Are you ready to dairy-free your mind? This summer, melt away your dairy-free expectations with So Delicious dairy-free frozen desserts. Enjoy mind-blowing flavors like salted caramel cluster, chocolate cookies and cream, cookie dough, and more. For over 35 years, So Delicious has been cranking up the flavor with show-stopping products that are 100% dairy-free, certified vegan by Vegan Action, and are so unbelievably creamy, your taste buds will do a double take. Dairy-free your mind. Visit SoDeliciousDairyFree.com.
Malaka. But that madman, the self-proclaimed Bishop of the Ruins, is our biggest critic. He calls our playing the devil's bagpipes.
I will sleep with anyone as long as they agree to be executed in the morning.
Like Xantivis.
He was well satisfied with his bargain. Who is this toothsome fellow?
My queen, this is,
Well?
It is a generous offer, but I've already pledged my life to this woman.
Aya, you have chosen well.
Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the reforms that Napoleon implements. He introduces a series of centralizing administrative reforms soon after taking power, probably because there is no structure in place. So he establishes prefects that are appointed to run France's regional departments. And then those are divided into districts with sub-prefects and then mayors to run towns. And my question is, did they not already have this? Did they not have regionalized leadership?
No, because that would be the nobility's responsibility.
Oh, I guess that does make sense.
Because they would just have so much land. And that's how feudalism worked, is that a noble would own all of this land and they would run the towns that they own. I mean, that's what happens even in Downton Abbey. I know that's England and 200 years later, but
Western Europe is basically running the same feudalistic system across the board almost.
Yes. Yeah. There are differences, but I mean, the system is the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So again, I just read this. I was like, oh, so this is you have just created
chaos or order from chaos.
But you just created okay, we have the overarching and then we've divided into sub-regions, which I feel like is the way to. Even feudalism had that, because you had the king and his court who oversaw most things, and then you had
right,
the nobility
and even under feudalism, the lord is not going to be the one that's running all of the day-to-day tasks.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have people that work for them.
Sheriffs, other things like that.
Yes.
So local representative bodies were retained, so he did keep their legislatures, but their powers were reduced, and indirect elections with high property qualifications replaced direct elections. So basically, this is more of a limiting of the power of people to choose, and they had strict restrictions on who could vote and who could run for office.
Right. So it's basically like America still, where, okay, you've got to be a landowner to really have any say in this country, but it's placating the people to say, okay, well, all of you non-landowners, you can still have a vote, but you can't run unless you own land.
It's basically the opposite of the Articles of Confederation.
Say more.
The Articles of Confederation, when America has its revolution, it is so anti any kind of centralized power that it's okay, let's get rid of it. We have this weak federal government, the states run everything, and it turns out hey, this is bad.
Yeah, well,
I'm not gonna comment. Anyway, and it's this is the opposite of having the almost facade of democracy.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Real power in the regions was now in the hands of the prefects, who were judged by how they met the main priorities of Napoleon's government.
So the prefects are appointed, And so are the sub-prefects and mayors.
Correct.
Okay, so my question is, these representative bodies that are elected, what is their role at all?
I think they have minor legislative roles, but like, versus I think it is like the legislative body is only centralized to the federal government versus like you don't have like these state legislatures or city councils or other things like that.
That makes sense. All right.
So his civil code, I think, is so fascinating because the plot in the song in Book of Mormon, the I believe, where it's like, I believe, and it starts out with like things that are like, oh, this is rational and makes sense. Like, I believe in God, creator of everything, and that he sent Jesus Christ to die for our sins. Like, that's a standard Christian belief. And then it's like, I believe the ancient Jews built boats and sailed to America. Like,
it starts to get crazier and crazier.
Right. That's kind of how I feel about this. Because we have equality before the law. Everyone is equal before the law, at least in writing. Religious tolerance, basically securing private property rights. Equal inheritance for all legit kids. So
yeah, all great things.
Abolished feudalism, which was important. Then we reduce the rights of women and children and basically make divorce impossible.
Cool.
I mean, it's not surprising for the time, but it just is funny.
It surprises me that there are rights of women and children to reduce.
I guess that's true. Well, I think France kind of, in the first French Revolution, they're kind of like, away with tyranny, rights for everyone, everyone's the same, and then they don't really know what to do with that.
That's fair.
He enhances education for men. Women's education, in contrast, was designed to be practical and religious, based on home science, the catechism, basic literacy, and math, and enough science to eradicate superstition.
It is very funny to me, though, that they're like, okay, we have to teach the women enough science to eradicate superstition so the women don't all become witches and crazy and kill us, when Napoleon is like so superstitious.
Exactly. But I think it's so funny, like, enough to eradicate superstition, like, enough.
In women specifically.
Yeah. But I mean, teaching women to read, that's a good
That's normal.
It's a good
but
thing.
I mean, I do think that it is good that the women of this era were taught to read and that they were taught to do math, because like I would have expected, okay, they know how to cook and clean and they know religious stuff. But it is a little bit more than that. And I think that that's important because literacy is the basis of everything in Western society, and not just in Western society, but like in modern society in general. Literacy is the basis of everything. You can't do anything without being literate.
And we were just talking earlier today, talking about how, we spend most of our day reading.
Yep.
Reading emails, reading stuff for jobs. We read almost every hour of every day.
Yeah, true. And that's not to say that people who are illiterate will never do anything with their lives. That's absolutely not true. But it is just such an important thing for our society that you will struggle without it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So that's really all I want to talk about with Napoleon. Do you have anything to add about him before we jump into his AC involvement?
I already know that I'm going to be annoyed by his story in Assassin's Creed. So let's just go.
So he's an NPC and quest giver and ally in AC Unity. He and Arno have a complicated friendship to a point of like Arno helps him and he like looks at him and he's like, okay, like you're an okay dude, but like I'll kill you if I have to. Like that's kind of their relationship. And Napoleon is like the same way about Arno. Like, you're smart, I like you, but I'll kill you if I have to.
Yeah.
And so he does come in contact with a piece of Eden, an apple of Eden, which I think could explain some erratic behavior later on in his life. And so And we know that he comes into contact with the PC Eden both from Assassin's Creed Unity and from Assassin's Creed 2 through the glyphs. You do a puzzle where you learn that a lot of rulers in this history have come into pieces of Eden, including Elizabeth I, George Washington, and Napoleon.
I forgot about that.
Yes. He sought after the Koh-i-Noor, which is like the worst thing you could ever go after. Like, I feel like it's worse than an apple of Eden.
I don't necessarily disagree with that.
This is the kicker. He has no known ties to the Templar Order. And it's important to note that, like, it has not been that long since the Knights Templar was officially eradicated in France.
What year did that happen?
1400s.
So it's been 400 years.
I guess that's true, but like the Knights Templar was eradicated in France.
I just don't believe this. I just don't believe it.
Okay, we can go to thoughts now.
Okay, I just don't believe it. For a person this superstitious, for a person who is this focused on strategy and improving his country, and a person who is as aggressive externally and internally as Napoleon is, I just don't believe that he wouldn't be associated with the Templars. And I don't necessarily even think that that's a reflection on Napoleon. I think it's also a reflection on the Templars, because there's no possible way that the Templars wouldn't go after this man. Mm-hmm. They would be obsessed with him. He's one of the strongest leaders in Europe at this time. There's no way they're not going after him to get him on their side, even if they don't have a strong presence in France at this time.
I agree with that. My only counterpoint to this is that he has known contact with Arnaud Dorian. And it's important also to note that due to the effects of Germain, the main antagonist of Assassin's Creed Unity, and Arnaud, the Templars are effectively done in France. Like, it's like worse than the assassins at the end, at the beginning of Assassin's Creed 3 when it comes to, like, the Templars. When Arnaud and Elise go to fight Germain, there are 2 Templars left in France, basically. And Arnaud is the only one that comes out of that fight.
Yeah, I just still don't think that the Templars in the surrounding countries would allow that to happen.
And yes, I agree with that. And I also think that Napoleon himself, I think Napoleon is too much of a wild card for the Templars. I don't think they can control him.
That's probably fair.
Because he answers to no authority other than his own. If he thinks that you are doing something that is wrong or that is stupid or that is contrary to his plan, he's going to kill you. Like, he will kill you to make sure that you do not disrupt his flow. And I think that Napoleon could only be Grand Master of the Templar Order. He could not be anything else.
I agree completely with that. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't try.
I guess.
And that doesn't mean they wouldn't try to use him.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a situation where they're both trying to use each other.
I could see that too. We just don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't think Napoleon would ever sign on to the Templars' view of humanity. I don't think he would ever be able to see himself in there, or even humanity as a whole, as like, you're always going to be bad and make the wrong decision. Like, there's no hope. Because I do think there is a little bit of like patriotism in Napoleon, and there is a little bit of progressiveness of like, we can move to something better. His just version of something better is him ruling over the entire world.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, why would this person who has instituted all of these reforms, why would you even try if you believed that nothing could be improved?
Exactly. Like, and you are instilling reforms that might or might not ensue that you have control over the populace. Like, if he was restricting literacy and restricting all of this to make a dumber populace, maybe. But, like, he is making France more intelligent.
Yeah.
Even though, like, some of his reforms about women are sexist and are rooted in their time, he's still teaching them to read.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still teaching them math.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
So that's where I'm at with this. I think Napoleon would not be swayed by either side. I think he would find their conflict almost trivial and an unworthy distraction to his goals.
I think that's fair, but I can still see him partnering or allying with the Templars and trying to use them and use their like network even during his wars.
I definitely agree with that. And I think part of what would make the Templars wary is that he wouldn't care if the established government was Templar allies or not. If he wanted that land, he would go against them.
True. That's true.
So that's where I'm at with that. But that's all I got for Napoleon.
All right. Well, this was a good one. It was really good to get back into this rhythm of the Assassins versus Templars. And this was an exciting one. So thank you, Austin, for doing the research as always. And thank you for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at AC Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Want to live better? We got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live Better Now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live Better Now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.